What's up? It's Thursday, July 18th, 2019. I'm on my week vacation up at Donner Lake and I got a few hours. I'm heading out to Reno. I'm going to hit up the Peppermill, either play in their noon tournament. It's only like a $50 buy-in, or maybe play some 1-2 cash game. Be fun to get a few hours of play in. So hopefully I'll run up some chips, run up a stack, and I'll have some cool updates along the way. All right, I'll check in when I get to the Peppermill. Later. What's up, guys? I'm at Boomtown getting gas. It's a little windy. I just crushed him at the Peppermill. I was there for 2 hours. Bought in for 200. Played some 1-2 no limit. The tournament, she said it was going to take about 4 hours. I didn't have that much time. So, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but my mindset after the World Series is just crush cash games. Take a break from tournaments. Tournaments can be super frustrating when you keep getting unlucky, playing bad, not cashing. It gets in your head. So my goal right now is to crush cash games, limit, no limit, try to build up my bankroll. Best case scenario, win a ton of money, play in the main event, maybe satellite in next year, accomplish my lifelong goal. But yeah, so I played some 1-2 no limit. I was running like God. It was amazing. It feels so good to just run good, and like people look at you like, man, that guy has it every time. Like, that was me. I was that guy. It was awesome. Sorry about that interruption. I had a little phone call. So just leaving Boomtown. Got some gas and some snacks and a water. So anyway, I crushed it. Ran like God, as I said. It was amazing. Feels so good. And I'm stuck in the Boomtown parking lot. So this is awesome too. So I had basically, like, I was super aggressive. I was for sure the most aggressive player at the table. I was the youngest player at the table by at least 20 years. So that makes sense. And I was just playing aggressive, raising a bunch of hands pre-flop. For the most part, I was missing my flops. I was continuation betting. I took down like 3 pots with a continuation bet where I didn't flop anything and people folded. So then 3 big hands came up that got me to this huge stack that I cashed out. So here is a big hand, the one that got my momentum going in the right direction that I never looked back on. And I will check in after this hand. All right, later. Okay, so here's the hand that really got my stack going, and I never looked back from here. I bought in for 200 and I was down about 20 bucks. So I had pocket threes in late position and I limped in for $2. Old guy number 1 on the button called, and both of the blinds called, so we saw the flop four-handed. So it was a beautiful flop for me. It was 10-7-3. I just flopped bottom set. The first 2 guys checked to me and I bet $10. Old guy number 1 on the button called and the other 2 guys folded. So it was heads up and I was out of position. Very confident I have the best hand at this point. Now I'm really confident I have the best hand. I have the absolute nuts. I have quad threes. And now I just have to decide, how am I going to extract the most amount of money out of this guy? So in a small stakes cash game, I really like to just play my hands pretty straightforward because they're not super difficult opponents to play against and they're not tricky. You know, if I check and then he checks and then I bet like 50 bucks on the river or 30, 40 bucks, whatever, and he calls, I didn't optimize how much money I could win. So I let out for 15 hoping he's got some piece of this flop. So once he calls me, I know he's got a piece. So I'm thinking he probably has like a 10, maybe a 7. And so now there's $58 in the pot. And the river was the 8 of spades. So because I'm pretty confident he has a decent hand, you know, if he has a 10, the 8 doesn't really hurt his hand. So I lead out for 50, which is almost a pot-sized bet, hoping to get called, and he instantly moves all in. And I snap call with my quads. Unlucky for him, he had pocket 8s, and he rivered a full house, 8s full of 3s, but I had the quads, and I took down the massive pot. So, can't say I've ever had quads and got raised all in on the river, so nice hand, buddy, nice hand. So anyway, you know, so over the years, I keep detailed records of all my poker sessions, all the way from the very first poker tournament I ever played at the Atlantis. And included in that spreadsheet, I keep track of any big hands I've had, which includes quads and straight flushes. So I believe this puts me at about 23 or 24 times I've had quads in my career, which is quite a bit. I have a knack for making quads, I guess. And I've had about 4 or 5 straight flushes. So it's always fun to just have the absolute nuts and know that there's no way you're going to lose the hand. And little did I know the guy made 8s full on the river. Too bad he didn't have quad 8s, because that would have been the bad beat jackpot and I would have gotten his aid. So anyway, so that put me well into the green. I was sitting on a big stack after that. And then another big hand came up. It wasn't a massive pot, but here's another hand breakdown of that one. Okay, so hand breakdown number 2. Queen of diamonds, queen of clubs, under the gun with $3.95 to start. I raised a 10, got quite a few folds, folded around to the button who called, the small blind called, and the big blind folded. So 3 players to see the flop. It's a good flop for me. I have the overpair. The flop comes 10-5-4. Old guy number 5, who I will be calling the small blind. He leads out for $41, a donk lead into me, and he left himself with 41 behind. And there was only 31 in the pot, so it's really a strange bet, and I'm really not scared of a set because I figured he would have check raised me if he had a set, or if he had aces or kings, which are the only overpairs that beat me. I figured he would have re-raised. He would have either raised pre-flop or re-raised me. So I'm not worried about that. Pretty confident I have the best hand. And I wanted to fold out old guy number 4 just to get it heads up. So I made it 82. Old guy number 5 snap called me. He had pocket jacks, and I took it down with the overpair, better than his pair. So the guy didn't have too many chips really to start the hand, but when he let into me on the flop, I just had a feeling like there's no way he would have done that with a set, which is the only thing I'd be worried about there, because he probably would have just check raised me all in if he flopped a set, because he was so short. So I figured my queens were good, which they were, and I took his $82. Thank you very much. And then one other hand came up, and I will do a hand breakdown for that one. A lot of good hand breakdowns for this video. Alright, here it is. Okay, here's the hand breakdown of the last big hand I had in the session. I was dealt ace jack of diamonds in the big blind. I started the hand with $382. We got a couple early position limps. Then we got some folds. Button called and the small blind called. I raised to $12 to juice up the pot a little bit. I got 3 calls and the button folded. It's a great flop for me. I flop top and bottom pair, ace, king, jack. Now, this kind of flop, typically people are going to have aces, kings, jacks, queens, tens. They like to play a lot of Broadway hands. So this is not the best flop for me, but I'm fairly certain I have the best hand. But I want to make a pretty good sized bet to fold out some cheap draws or some one pair hands like a king, just so I don't get beat. So the small blind checked to me. I bet $20 into a pot of 50. So it was about, what, 40% the size of the pot. Guy next to me folds. And then old guy number one, who started the hand with $100, moved all in instantly. It was an easy call for me. Turns out he had king jack for bottom two, and the board ran out in my favor, and I took down the $250 pot with two pair. Another beautiful flop, running good. It's always nice to make the best hand first, a really good second best hand. The worst thing in poker is when you're playing and you've got that second best streak going. I've had it multiple times, especially playing limit. You just can't get away from it. You keep making the second best hand, a hand that's too good to fold. So yeah, it was a great session. I played for about 2 hours and 10 minutes. I bought in for 200, cashed out for 506, so I netted 306 bucks. So I more than doubled my money. Well on my way of my new cash game mission to just build the bankroll. The tournaments have been hurting me pretty hard the last couple years, so I'm just gonna start hitting those cash games hard. So, short video, only had a couple hours to play, but it was a good time. I was on a total heater the whole time. Actually, the last hand that put me at 306 up, which was my highest point of the day, I had king 10 and the flop came ace queen and the turn was a jack, so I was just running good. It was going to be my last hand before I got up, so what can I say? I ran like God today. It was a nice feeling. I had a rough couple summers in Vegas. It's so hard with the family to only play a few times a year, really. And you spend all that time anticipating your great trip, and then this summer was pretty sad. I was sick the whole time, and I just was not playing my A game. Today I was playing the best no-limit cash game session I've ever played. It was awesome. I felt so comfortable. I mean, the game was great. There was a lot of limping involved, so it wasn't super aggressive like a lot of the card rooms are down in the Bay Area. So I was just playing good. I was, pre-flop raising a lot to 10 bucks. Continuation bet. If people didn't hit, they'd fold. If they hit, they stayed in. And made it pretty clear right away if I had the worst hand, and I'd just fold and move on to the next hand. But I was by far the most aggressive player the whole time. But I was also making huge hands, which is scary when there's an aggressive guy and all he's doing is showing big hands. So when I was bluffing, I just wouldn't show because I'd fold. So I made a flush on the river where I check raised a guy, he folded. Those three big hands I just did the breakdowns on, those were huge. Just getting huge chunks at a time, that was awesome. So right now the focus is just to build the bankroll and try to build up enough money where I can satellite into the main event. It's been a lifelong goal of mine. I've always said I want to play in the main event before I turn 50 years old. So this summer I turn 39 and next summer I turn 40. So I have 10 solid years to do it. I'm pretty confident I'll get in. There's a ton of ways to satellite in. You can do online qualifiers if you're playing in Nevada. You can play in World Series qualifiers during the World Series of Poker. They have $500 buy-in satellites. They have $1,000 mega satellites. My stupid phone keeps overheating. It's like 95 degrees out and then the camera keeps shutting off. So back to the main event qualifying. You can qualify in, like $200 qualifiers right around the time of the main event. Then they have $500 mega satellites and $1,000 mega satellites. Ideally, I would probably, because I can't really play online in California, I'm going to shoot for maybe this coming summer or the following one to go in with a couple shots at qualifying in the $500 satellite. So, I'd have a hard time dropping 10 grand to play in the main event just because the pressure of that much money would just be way too much for me, and I don't have much money in my bankroll to do anyway. for 500 bucks, I think I could play about my best game and, yeah, accomplish a lifelong goal. Check one item off my bucket list. It's been there for, 17 years at this point. I've been playing since the early 2000s. That'd be awesome. I'd love to join my friends who have played in the main event. It'd be a crazy experience that I would never forget. So until next time, I'm sure I'll play before November, but Mark and I did book a trip to the Orleans for a couple days in November. We're going to just stay there and play cash games, play some 8-16 limit, some 1-2 no limit, or some 2-5 no limit, depending on how we're doing. So I just got to continue to build my bankroll. I'm just going to focus on my end goal and focus on the cash game, stay away from tournaments for a little bit, and hopefully I will accomplish a lifelong dream within the next couple years. That would be so sweet. Alright, I'll check in with you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Later!